outdoor sculptures. You can't have them inside a house, that would be too big. Here's a young Joan Miro. Notice he's standing by an easel. He didn't really, most artists will have a canvas on an easel and paint standing up or sitting down if the easel is lower, and have their painting up and down. But most of the time when Joan Miro painted, and you'll see photos of it, he would keep his paintings on a table and paint that way. It was just a personal choice. There's no right or wrong way, it's just whatever the artist wanted to do. He had a tough time convincing his parents to let him go into art. They thought it was ridiculous. It was sort of the attitude of a lot of the parents back then who had children who wanted to be artists. There were very few supportive parents. They didn't understand that as a profession. It wasn't considered such an honorable profession. And they said, no way, we're not going to support that. You've got to go to business school. So they forced him to go to a business school to learn how to be a businessman. And he was so unhappy that he actually got sick. Now, business school is perfect for a lot of other people, but it's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to go to art school. And after he got sick, his parents said, whoa, he really does want to be an artist. So they said, okay. They gave in, and they let him go to art school in Barcelona, where he learned how to paint in the realistic style. But little by little, he started to move away from that and started painting like this. Now, this is only a little bit abstract. We can still recognize the farm building and the wall and the bushes and the clouds and the road. It's a dirt road. They must not have paved the roads back then. But yet, when you look at it closely, the lines are too bold, the colors are too bold, a lot of geometric shapes. That's what makes this abstract, but only a little bit abstract. But time moved on. He didn't always stick to this, because he started painting like this. This is what made Miro famous. And he didn't always paint like this, but this very unusual style of painting is what made him famous. Now, I'm going to ask a question that I've asked all day, and the answer should be yes. Could you copy that and paint that? Oh, yes. I'm going to answer for you. Every one of us, if we have the right tools, the right paint colors, unless something is damaged with our hands or something, every one of us could paint a triangle, could paint a squiggly line, a floating line, a repeated shape of a circle. We can all paint those stars. Those are easy ones. This looks like your 3-year-old brother or sister painted it, right? Doesn't it look like the kind of art that they bring back from preschool? The kind of art you did when you were in preschool? This looks like a child did it. And yet, why did this make him famous? Well, number one, he was the first to paint like this. If you started painting like this, people would say, pat you on the back and go, oh, nice job, but it's not going to make you rich and famous like it did Joan Miro. That's number one. He was the first to paint like this. But number two, and an even more important reason, these shapes that you see were actually symbols for something else. And let me explain. They had more meaning than just these weird-looking shapes. This is a woman with her triangle-shaped body and her very funny head. Notice she's got 3 eyes. This is a bird. In fact, he called this painting Woman and Bird. This bird with a brown drippy paint, and yes, he let the paint drip on purpose. He did that on purpose. That's not an oops. And what he was trying to tell us is that's not just a strange-looking woman. She represents planet Earth, Mother Earth. A lot of cultures, not just our Native American culture, have called the planet Earth a woman, Mother Earth. Many, many cultures around the world have referred to the planet as a woman. And so this is planet Earth, Mother Earth, in her very funny shape. This is the universe. When you look up in the sky, we only see the blue sky and the clouds. But there's outer space beyond that. You've seen some pictures of space before. It's endless, it's the universe. And so the sky, the bird can go up in the sky. Obviously can't get out in outer space. We need rocket ships for that. But the bird represents the rest of our environment, the universe. And so these are symbols. So he did several paintings with woman and bird in the painting, you know, as the name of the painting, with these hidden extra meanings. Now let's go down the list of when he painted this way, how he did it. Number one, he had the floating line or squiggly line, usually a thin black line that just kind of floats in the air. Number two, repeated shapes. What's the shape he repeated? Circle, exactly. And in a couple of instances you could see where the shapes overlap, and not always, but in a lot of places where they overlap, it changed color. Like the circle is slightly overlapping the triangle, and where it overlaps, it turned it red. Same way over here, and there's a little bit of green right here. So far we've got floating line, repeating shapes. Eyes, oh heavens. Eyes were so important to Miro, he gave her 3. Why? Because for Miro, eyes were the window into the soul of a person. What does that mean? It means you can tell an awful lot about how a person is feeling just by looking at their eyes. You can tell if they're happy or sad, or I know you've all experienced this. You get home, you're in trouble with your parents because you didn't do something you were supposed to do, or you did something you weren't supposed to do. They don't have to say one thing. They give you the look. Have you ever had a look from your parents? You know what that means. I am in deep trouble. And they don't have to say one word. You can see it in their eyes, and that's what I mean. You can tell a lot about how a person is feeling just by looking at their eyes. And Joan Miro knew that. That's why he liked to paint a lot of eyes. And he also painted a lot of stars because we see, a lot of stars in the universe. It's also another symbol for the universe. So when we go down the list, there's my quick list again of women and bird. He didn't always paint in this style, but when he did, these would be the things you would see over and over again. We have a name for this kind of painting, however, and it's a very long name. It's called surrealism. Surrealism simply means way beyond realistic, so far past realistic, you can't even imagine. Surrealism means so far beyond that. And it was not at all realistic, but it also has another meaning. By the way, surrealism is just a kind of abstract art. If you forget the word surrealism, you can just call it abstract art, and that is totally appropriate. But as abstract art developed, there were different styles that were developed under the umbrella of abstract art. I should probably put that at the top, because surrealism is just one form of abstract art. And it's not realistic, but there's more to the meaning of surrealism. And let me explain. Oh, by the way, there is Joan Miro painting at a table. And notice he has what we call a painting board under his wrist. Sometimes when you're painting at a flat table, if you're painting, you could accidentally drop your wrist onto the paint and mess it up. So by putting that board under your arm, it's like a resting place as you're painting. It helps keep your arms steady as you're painting over your canvas. So that's a tool that a lot of artists use, especially when they're painting at a table. Okay, here's the other meaning of surrealism. When you are painting a tree, a person, a landscape, a flower, you're using your eye to look at it. You're looking at a tree, you paint it. You look at a person, you paint it. But in surrealism, you're not using your eyes, you're not painting what you see. You are painting what's in your head, your imagination. Usually, the ideas and images you get in your head with dreaming. Night dreams, we have good dreams and bad dreams. We have nightmares. We don't want to remember those, but sometimes we do. You can paint those. But what he would do is he would sit in his studio in his rocking chair, sometimes for hours, He would often play music in the background. He didn't want anybody going into the studio to talk to him. So like his wife and daughter, they knew, oh, he's in the studio, we can't interrupt him unless it's an emergency. He didn't want anything to break his train of thought. And he would just sit there and rock, sometimes for hours, and let all of these images and ideas come into his head. It was sort of like a form of daydreaming. And once he was happy with whatever he came up with in his head, then he would start painting. So surrealism is painting not what you see with your eyes, but the ideas that you get in your head. And of course, that's what he did, especially with those pictures, that woman and bird picture.